Okay, welcome back to the podcast, everybody. It's getting into the end of summer. We got a couple months left of summer, and it's kind of moving into, canning season and prepping season. And everyone has a mom or a grandma who has the ability to can foods and harvest. And my mom is that lady for me. And she's, last year we asked her to show us how to make peaches and can peaches, and since then we've moved forward to canning other things, and we keep asking her advice, and she's got a good hand in this. So I was going to talk about canning, and I asked her to come on and be a part of the conversation. So here's my mom, Bonnie.
You.
Yeah, hey,
Thank
thanks.
you.
So it's like we said here, it's colder.
Yes, it is.
Especially at my place. So it's starting to chill out, even though we live on Vancouver Island and we don't get the winters the rest of the country gets. Right now, this year, there's some chilliness happening that we can see in the plants, like my tomatoes and potatoes and zucchinis are all starting to show the effects of the colder mornings and dewy. Like, it's been really dewy out here. I don't know about your place in town.
Yep.
So anyways, those are all signs it's time to start harvesting some stuff. So we always can peaches. So last year you showed us how to can peaches.
Yep.
And then we did jams, and this year we did relish. We did some pickles, and we did some dehydrating. And so this is the type of stuff. We did this lots as kids. I don't remember, but this is what we would do. Or like you did it, I guess. We were just kids, so.
No, you did it too.
I don't have any recognition of doing it because I was at a young age. But so now at this age, it's because of COVID. It seems like it's becoming more popular again. We were trying to find. I snagged that mosquito. I got it, guys. It's dead now. One less mosquito in the world. We could not find not pickling salt. What's the stuff that makes the pickled flavor? The
dill.
The dill. Yeah, we couldn't find dill.
It was really hard this year. I don't know if there was something wrong with the dill crops or not, but we had a hard time.
Yeah,
a really hard time.
We had a hard time getting dill. It was pretty frustrating. We didn't know if we were even going to get to pickle our stuff. But we did. It worked out. We ended up getting dill. We bought a whole bunch, but I think we used most of it too.
You can also, if you don't have the fresh dill, you can do dill seed. Just go to the bulk barn or whatever and buy dill seed.
So the first time I went to the bulk barn, they also didn't have it. So they didn't have it at the bulk barn, and we couldn't find it at any of the shops in town. And so it was kind of hit and miss. So we started checking like every day, and then finally Sam got out and she got some, and we were able to pickle before the cucumbers we had, or I guess they're cucumbers. Are they a special type of cucumber, like a pickling cucumber?
I think the ones that you used, from the picture that I saw, they were field cucumbers.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah. You can use those for pickles too. When I did my pickles, you can get pickling cucumbers. They're smaller than what you were using. You wouldn't have had to slice them up.
Right. Yeah, we also we just used the jars that we had, so we used this narrow brim. It's still pretty wide, but it was really tough to get the pickles into here. And I guess the pickles shrink.
Yes, they do.
So you want to pack them in tight. So there's movement in here now.
That looks really good.
But Sam packed them. We tackled it as a team. So we...
Did you put garlic in it?
Yeah, so we've got garlic.
Oh,
you can see it. We did 3 cloves in there at the bottom. And then we've got...
some dill. Yep.
The dill and whatever else is included. Sam made the
brine.
The brine, and I prepped the cucumbers. So, since the world has changed with COVID and people wanting to be more prepared, food storage has become quite important to a lot of people. And when we lived in Yak, that was kind of something we had to do because we didn't know if we were making it to the store or whatever.
Yeah, we lived 50 miles from the nearest grocery store, and in the mountains in the Kootenays, there's we always had food storage.
Yeah, and so like here, one of the things I'm trying to get done on my property right now is the root cellar made out of a refrigerator, and I can't seem to get my hands on one, but I'm still planning on doing that because I'm hoping to get 100+ potatoes. You just said before the show that your potatoes didn't turn out the way you thought.
They did not turn out at all. I got 25 little tiny potatoes, and we don't eat a whole lot of potatoes anymore. Mm-hmm. I mean, there's a big difference between having to cook for 10 people as opposed to 2. Mm-hmm. And so we don't eat as many, and I don't really need the amount of potatoes. Yeah.
So that's fine, I guess. But I'm hoping for a big bulk so that I can do like a trade potatoes for this, for that, or like storage and I don't know. Can you can potatoes?
Yes, you can.
Yeah. So canning.
And you can dehydrate them as well.
Yeah. We've been just getting into dehydration. So dehydrating stuff. So, with food storage, so with canning, you've canned a whole bunch. You can can a whole bunch of stuff, right?
You can almost everything.
Yeah, from game meat to chicken, rare meat, pork, all the way down to your flour. You said don't do sugar. We talked about this before.
Yeah, can't can sugar. You can't put. If you're going to put for a long-term storage for sugar, put it in a jar. Put the lid on. Don't put any air absorbers in, or oxygen, because it'll just turn into a brick.
It just hardens up.
Yeah,
But sugar has a long shelf life anyway.
It does.
Yeah.
It does. It's a preservative. That's why you use a lot of sugar in your canning and stuff, because it is a preservative.
Yeah, it helps keep it. Yeah, because with what is it? With like the strawberry jam here.
Yeah.
It's almost a cup of sugar for a cup of strawberries.
Yeah.
There's a lot of sugar in even these homemade jams, but that is the preservative part. That and then air sealing it.
Yeah. And the pectin makes it thicker. And
pectin. What is pectin? We read online that you can get it from oranges. It comes from oranges. You can
get it from green apples. There's a certain apple that you can grow. Don't quote me on this. I seem to remember a transparent apple. It's an early apple. Mm-hmm. You can get pectin from that.
Really?
And I'm not sure how to do it, but I mean, I'm sure that there is.
I'm gonna research how to do it. So like with the pickles, we're gonna grow our own dill this year because it was such a gong show to get it. I'm like, we'll just grow our own because it's just a herb. You just throw it in your garden and dehydrate it. Mm-hmm. There you go. So.
And you don't, if you're going to use it for pickles, you want it fresh.
Yeah, we could just come out and clip it. So we're just going to grow our own next year. We're going to plan some things different with how we grow things. And I think we're going to try and do tomatoes different because we talked about we might have blight, which means we can't plant them where they are. And what we'll do with tomatoes is that we will probably slice them. We'll grow some bigger tomatoes, slice them, can those, or make a sauce and can it, and also do salsa. So hopefully next year we grow enough tomatoes to do salsa, sliced and diced tomatoes, and some spaghetti sauces.
I dehydrated my tomatoes out of my garden.
Oh, really?
Today. Yeah, I did.
How long did that take?
8 hours, but I did heritage tomatoes, the big ones. I did a whole couple of trays of cherry tomatoes, just cut them in half. What else did I do? I did my yellow cherry tomatoes. Don't know what they're called. And I did Roma tomatoes.
Okay.
I don't have enough of each variety to do any canning this year.
Right.
Because this was an experiment, our garden this year.
Okay.
So I just sliced them all up and dehydrated them. It took me about 8 hours.
And then you can just throw them in a sauce or whatever?
Yeah, you just throw them in the, you just
use them for cooking like you would tomato.
Yeah, you can soak them in a cup of water or whatever, rehydrate them a little bit. You can throw them in soups or stews. You don't even have to do that to rehydrate them if you're going to put them in stews or soups or whatever.
Yeah, you can just add
them.
Add it as dry. We noticed with dehydrating, so we dehydrated some bananas, and it took about twice as long as what our recipe has said in our dehydrator.
Okay.
And then we dehydrated those flowers. What are they called? The ones you eat out of our garden? Nasturtiums. I always forget. Really peppery tastes. Right now I'm just eating them. They're super peppery. So we've canned these. And it took a little bit longer. And what happened is when we didn't can them, sorry, we dehydrated them. And then we put them in a little can. But when we first dehydrated, they seemed dehydrated. And then when you eat them, they kind of are more chewy. Mm-hmm. So we dehydrated them again. And now they're like, we dehydrated them to the point where they were like flaky.
Yeah.
So that like these are crunchy in your mouth. If there's any chew in it, we didn't like that texture. And we thought maybe that wouldn't keep because it was still damp inside. So we didn't want them to go moldy. These are really good. You can try one right now. Do they have a smell?
Yep.
Yeah, they got a dry herbal smell like
they smell almost like a squash.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes, they do. See how peppery these guys are there.
I like them. They're not as peppery when they're dried as they were. I don't find them that peppery.
No, it's kind of like their aftertaste is peppery. The ones in the garden right now, fresh, are instant pepper in your mouth. These are really good. But it's cool to be able to, the kids go out there and they just pick the flowers and they eat them. Mm-hmm. And we had so many zucchinis that they just grab zucchinis and eat them. Mm-hmm. We're like, okay, just eat them. Let's talk about the process of canning. Okay, so we started out with peaches with you. So why don't you explain to us the process of canning peaches? Now, for anyone who's listening or watching, we don't get peaches here locally very well. My friend's grandma used to drive to the Okanagan and buy a truckload because they didn't get them here. But the Okanagan, apparently, you grow peaches out there.
That's so good.
So they used to just drive out there and get all their peaches. I wonder if this one's been open. It looks like it's...
Yeah, it looks like... The seal is good. It'll
sealed.
be okay.
Yeah, okay.
But I would use that first.
Yeah, it's pretty low. I don't know what happened there. But... So we outsource our peaches, and what we do is we watch for the flyers, and they will have peach sales for canning peaches. So we try and get them $1 a pound. Is kind of what we paid this year. I think we paid slightly less last year at the country grocer, but we looked at different flyers this year, and they were all kind of for 3 different places because they sell them in bulk, but with a limited amount of boxes for people. So we just did what we could. We got a few cans this year, and so why don't you go ahead and explain the process of canning peaches?
Well, peaches need to be peeled, so you need to put them in boiling water for a few seconds and dip them into cold water, and then the skins just slice off.
Yeah, it just comes off. So
comes off.
You bring a water to a boil, you put your peaches in, and then you have cool water to stick them in, right?
Stick them, yep.
Yeah.
You peel it off, and then you slice it into a bowl of cold water with some lemon juice in it, so that they don't turn color. When you get enough for 7 quart, which is what that size is.
A quart is a larger
It's about 4
mason
cups.
jar.
Yeah, so. It's a large one. You fill them up. You do syrup. There's a light syrup and a medium syrup and a heavy syrup. I always use a light syrup, the less sugar.
And how do you make that? You make that or you buy it?
We make it.
Yeah.
It's with 1 cup of sugar to 4 cups of water. Yeah. And you dissolve it and heat it up so that it's boiling. Keep your jars hot. Of course, you sterilize them and run them through the dishwasher or stick them in the oven. Keep them hot. Put your peaches in. Put this syrup in. Put your lid on, and then put it in a water bath canner for, I think it's 30 minutes, but I'm not sure.
A bath can. So we did some calculations about that bath. A bath canner is just a big pot that you boil all this stuff in. So we'll just do a little run through. You clean your jars. You heat them up in the oven. You boil water, and then you have a hot syrup in the peaches.
Syrup. Mm-hmm.
So the peaches are in the peaches go in, and then you fill it up with the hot syrup. So the hot syrup is in the hot jar, so that there's no cracking or breaking. And then you take the hot jar and you put it in the boiling water. And that's how it seals. Because if you have we lost our first jar of peaches. Yeah. So if the temperature sits and cools in one of the areas, the jars can break while they're boiling.
There could have been a flaw in the jar.
Yeah. We reuse our jars.
Yeah, and that's fine. You can. That's what they're made for.
So, I think that it was a jar that we used last year, but whatever it is. Sam was a little disappointed, but we lost our first jar of peaches, and so everything has to be the temperature. Now, what
They have to be hot.
Sam did, and then you cook them for a certain time period. What Sam did is went online and she figured out our height above sea level is.
Okay.
And if you know your height above sea level, you can do a calculation. I don't know how she did it. She looked it up online, and it'll determine how long you
have to boil it
for. So for boiling for this jams, we were doing it for, I don't remember how long before, but we only have to do it 5 minutes where we're located because the ocean is only 5-minute drive away.
Yeah.
So now for the bigger jars, we only actually have to do them for 10 minutes at this location. So if you live further away from sea level, higher up, you boil for longer. It has to something to do with where you're located around sea level. So Sam figured that out. And that saved us on the pickling because we were going to do 20 minutes a jar pickling, but then she did the calculation and we only had to do them for 10 minutes pickling. I think that's why. And our jams that she made before that, she made some blackberry jam just before we did the pickling where we normally cook them for longer. She only cooked them for 5 minutes. And then they come out, and then the top seals. So anyone who's just listening or whatever, there's you have your mason jar and a metal cap, and
flat lid.
Flat lid. And the flat lid has the seal on it. And when you pop it, when you boil it, if it still pops, it means it hasn't sealed. There's still air in there, right?
It just means that there may have been something on the rim of the jar, or there may have been a nick that you didn't see. So when you're checking your jars, what I do is I just take my finger and I run it around the rim, and you can feel if there's any crack or anything. Yeah, so you just may have. I mean, it just may have been a strawberry seed.
Could have been anything.
It could have been anything.
Yeah, but. If you don't hear if it's not sucked in and you can push it like it's a button and it makes a clip, it means it's not sealed.
It's not sealed.
So anyone who's doing it, just know that if you do all your cans and you're still tapping it and it's moving, then it's not properly sealed. It's kind of like rewarding when you pull them out of the water and you set them down and you hear them pop.
Yep.
In the background. Ping. Yep. It's really like if you have 6 cans out there drying and then you hear one ping. Couple minutes you hear another ping and you count them down, and then when all 6 ping, you're like, success. Yes. You feel pretty good about that. So peaches are actually pretty quick. Our first year it felt like it took a long time, but I was still learning. But when me and Sam did it this year, like we could do 5 jars in an hour. So, and then we would cook it. So an hour and a half. We cooked them for 30 minutes, and before we figured out the calculation, but now we can do it for less minutes.
So how many minutes did you do it?
30 or 20 minutes beforehand for the large.
Okay.
Is that wrong? I think
that's what I did.
Yeah, that's what we did. But then I guess Sam says with this calculation that she did, that because we're so close to the sea, we can do it for less, 10 minutes.
Okay.
5 minutes for one of these. So we haven't tried it on peaches, but I'm going to try next year for doing it for 10 minutes. Now, you live further from the sea than I do.
Yep.
So... time may vary.
I'll do it for 20.
Yeah.
I did them when I did my peaches last year. I think I did them for 20 minutes.
Yeah, we all did all ours 20 minutes. I mean, doing it for longer, it's not going to hurt anything. It's just guaranteeing that it's done. Yeah. But if you're like trying to do a whole bunch, to know exactly like your minimum time is kind of nice, because we still have jams. We still have zucchinis to do, and we're trying to figure out what to do with that. We wanted to pickle. Yeah, Sam was thinking about dehydrating. I'm wondering how long that would take. So...
How long? I can't remember.
I'm not sure how...
I think it took 6 hours.
I think ours takes a little bit longer to dehydrate things. But
we have similar dehydrators.
Ours is just taking a long time. We're going to try and do some apples. My buddy's going to drop off some apples on Sunday. He dropped off a whole bunch. And then we were so busy canning and jamming and doing pickles that Nancy, Sam's mom, ended up doing our applesauce for us.
Okay.
So we didn't get to it. We still had some applesauce left over from last year. And then Sam made some vanilla blackberry jam. She tried a new recipe where you just add vanilla. It's quite good. We tried it yesterday. And first time pickling this year. And we did 9 jars. But so now that these are pickled, 3 to 4 weeks before we can try that. The longer they're in here, the better.
My recipe that I did, and it's my first year doing pickles too. I've never, other than beet pickles, I did those. My recipe said wait a week for them. I only did 12. I think I only did 12 jars because first time Dad has eaten 3 jars.
So yeah, our recipe says let them sit for 4 weeks. So that's what we're gonna do, and then we're gonna try pickled eggs because we've got the chickens and we've got a surplus of eggs here. We might as well pickle those and give them a
Those
try.
are good.
I like pickled eggs. I like pickled mushrooms, but we don't have any mushrooms here. I mean, I guess I could go mushroom picking. Let's talk about the relish. So we made the relish for the first time of the year, and out of all the stuff, this takes the longest when you really add all the time together of what we've done. There's just
It just takes.
just a little. Well, you got to let it sit and everything. So why don't you explain because we took your recipe. Explain the pickling, the zucchini pickles. Now our zucchini relish. We grew all the zucchinis in our relish in our own garden. It's been a really great year for zucchinis. Anyone who's gardening around Vancouver Island and in the Cowichan Valley area is going to guarantee or is going to confirm that it's zucchinis. Zucchinis this year were really good. Okay, so tell us your recipe on that one.
Okay. You grate up or grind up the zucchini and
So
onions.
And I had a reaction to the onions, not like just crying. Okay, I did cry. I teared up. Sam couldn't cut them, but I ended up getting like a rash around my eyes from doing onions. Okay, so zucchinis, onions.
Yeah, so it was like 5 cups of ground zucchini and 2 cups of ground onions. And then some pickling salt, and you mix them all together, and you let them cover them with whatever, and you set them on the counter overnight. And then the next day you rinse it all out, put it through the in a colander, run it through cold water, drain it really, really well. Then you make your brine, and off the top of my head I can't remember what it is, but it's got vinegar and sugar and cornstarch and ground red peppers, ground green peppers, and you just bring it all to a boil and it thickens up, and then you just stick it in your hot jars and do a water process. I think it's like 5 minutes or something.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Yeah, it was 5 minutes. Yeah, because it's cooked. It's all just to meet temperature. You don't have to put it through the water. It's an added safety. Yeah, so you preservation, I guess. Because there's some things you can with certain pectins. When you buy your pectin, they come with recipes, and they will tell you what they're good for in the recipe packs. But some pectin will tell you that certain jams, I think our strawberry jam, we did not boil in water.
You don't have to.
We sealed them in the oven, so you just cook it. Now, so when you're coming to can, you're either going to do it in the oven or you're going to do it in water. The water is like a more guaranteed.
You didn't have to. You put this in the oven?
I think we put this in the oven.
You took the jars out of the oven, put the jam in
it,
put the lid on, and then
put it back in the oven.
Oh,
I think, or we just left it.
You left it on the counter.
We just left it on the counter because the jar itself was hot enough, and the jam is hot.
Yeah.
So we left it on the counter, and it just seals itself.
And it's got enough sugar and stuff in it. For jam, you don't need to. I think there are some recipes that you can or have to put in a water bath canner. It's just an extra, like I said, it's an extra precaution.
Yeah, it's like going the extra mile. Like if you're starting a food storage, like we're kind of trying to get a food storage going on. Just because COVID happened and stores were shut down, and it's kind of an eye opener. And me and Sam wanted to do this before COVID, but we didn't have the means. We didn't have a garden or the space, and now that we do, we're trying to start a food storage in case there's ever a time we're in need. We have a surplus of stuff. I mean, it's important. I would love to have a year's supply of canned stuff set aside. But you got to sit down and take notes and calculate who's eating what at what time, spread over this amount of time period. But like these peaches, like we can these. How long will these last for?
A couple of years. I mean, so it depends on how fast you eat them.
Yeah, I mean, like if you didn't eat it, how long before they went bad?
We've done peaches. Well, maybe not the peaches, but things like cherries and plums. That I think one year we did like 200 quarts of cherries.
Yeah.
Well, it took us 3 years to eat those 200 quarts of cherries.
But they lasted.
Fine.
And this relish will last a long time.
Yeah.
And the pickles as well.
The pickles will.
Anything that's canned, it just lasts. You get more than a year's worth on your expiry date. So and then you just do a rotation. We do lots of jams. So like our blackberry jam, we picked all these blackberries here out of the wild. Not everywhere in the world can you do that, but here we can. So we picked all the blackberries, and then it was just the cost of the sugar and the pectin. And I think that's pretty much it for ingredients. You mash them up, boil it into your sugar, use your pectin, and so really easy. And then that'll last 2 or 3 years.
Yep.
So the strawberry jams, we ended up purchasing bulk strawberries. We wanted to go to a U-pick, but we just were so busy that we didn't find the time to do that. And strawberry season was kind of coming to an end because they're an earlier season kind of harvest. So we were running out of time. So we just bought those in bulk. We got blueberry jam, and the blueberries are from a U-pick. I love U-picks because it's local. You get a little more bang for your buck. You get it in bulk. So I think Sam ended up getting 30 pounds of blueberries. And then we canned a whole bunch. I think we got a ridiculous amount of cans. And then we picked, a few pounds of blackberries a couple times this year. Peaches we bought in the store, which is unfortunate. But after hearing my buddy say his grandma used to go to the Okanagan, I might be looking into doing that, like a little overnighter trip to the Okanagan and buy them in bulk. It might be better, like if I could get a group of people, Kurt, whoever, and do that. Or, Dell lives in the Okanagan. I might be able to reach out, my brother, and see if he can do that. But there's become an importance of having food storage that was never there before.
Food storage is good for, like if some people think that you're hoarding, and stuff. And, there's great satisfaction in doing it. Like to me, it's not work. Like everybody, you do all that, and that's it. Yeah, it's a lot of work. I don't think of it as work. I enjoy it. It ties me to my grandparents and to our ancestors and stuff, because the pioneers, I mean, they didn't have grocery stores to go to. They had to preserve their food and stuff.
And it's nice to know how to do it now that we're getting into it, because if there was ever a situation, I can now preserve my food all the way down to meat. You can preserve. So next year we're thinking doing some meat birds here, 10, 15 meat birds. Me and Sam were talking, and then harvesting them and canning a percentage of the meat. When you get into that stuff, so tell me the difference between canning in water and the oven versus pressure canning.
Okay. Oven canning is only for things like flour, your dry stuff. You can't can your vegetables or your fruits in the oven. It doesn't work. Water bath canning is for high acid foods such as your tomatoes and your fruits. You can't do vegetables or meat in a water bath canner. You have to have a pressure canner. It has to do with the pressure in the pottage to that preserves it and makes it edible.
Is that because like the meat would cook if you boiled it? Is that why? Meat, vegetables?
It will cook in the pressure canner too. And I've never used a pressure canner because I don't can my vegetables. I dehydrate them or freeze them, and but I want to start doing like soups and stuff like that, and sauces and all that kind of stuff, and meat. My goal for my family right now is to have a shelf-stable food storage that's not relying on my freezer.
Right.
Or, because
if your power goes out, so here, the year before we moved out, the lady that was renting this place before we did, she lost power for 5 days. Mm-hmm. Freezer.
Yeah, your freezer, as long as you don't open it, you've got maybe 48 hours. Mm-hmm. And then
you start losing stuff.
Yeah.
So I like the idea of canning and dry storage. Then you could easily move it around, not worrying about having backup generators for your freezer, and it takes up shelf space, but when you do it right, you can store it in other locations. I also like the idea of a root cellar for stuff like potatoes. I have not done a root cellar or really know how long it can last in that particular environment, but
a root cellar is great. We had one in Yak. I don't know if you remember that. Mostly it was used by a pack rat, but there was we put our potatoes in there. Potatoes and carrots we buried in sand.
Yeah, so I've read that as well.
Mm-hmm. And everything else, like apples, you can store apples in there. We stored them in wooden boxes, like in crates, so that the air could get in. But you have to go with a root cellar. It's almost a daily thing. You have to go through it so that, because if one apple spoils and you don't catch it,
then they'll all start
going. So you have to go down and you have to check. You check your potatoes, you check your carrots, you check your squashes. If there's a soft spot, you take it up and you cook it that day.
Yeah.
You can store a lot of stuff in your food storage that gives you
in a root cellar.
But you can't store, even though zucchini is technically a squash, or not technically, you can't store it.
They're too wet?
They're too thin-skinned.
Okay.
You need to have like an acorn squash or a butternut or a spaghetti or a pumpkin.
We have a lot of acorn squash going on out there right now. I don't know when we harvest them, but our garden is starting to get a little floppy, so I think we gotta start harvesting stuff pretty soon. We grew corn this year, and stalks are starting to come, so we're just gonna leave them as long as we can. Yeah, the cobs, so are starting to come. So, we've got little 3-inch cobs on there, so we're just gonna leave it till they go brown, and hopefully we get some. I see online some people their stuff has already come to harvest, so we might be using them for decoration and stuff this year. Couple things I want to do for our garden is, one, for fun, I want to build a scarecrow and hang it out there. Scarecrow seems like fun. I've got hay, I've got some old clothes. Maybe we'll do that this weekend with the kids and build a scarecrow before I go back to work. And then we want to reconfigure how this year we just kind of winged it, and we didn't plan where kind of things were going very well. And our tomatoes, we didn't do very well this year, and which is fine because tomatoes themselves didn't do good this year here. They were, like, lots of people struggled. We just started getting some tomatoes, and it's a little bit late, and now we've got, it looks like blight. We got to look into it, and so we'll be planning the tomato situation better next year. So next year we're going to have a better setup. And then in the back pasture, we used to let the goats out and they would eat all around the garden because I have the garden fenced up, but we're not doing that anymore. So I'm going to move my potatoes strictly depending on what I get out of my garbage can when I pull it, because it's still green. I still got some time. If I get what I'm looking for out of my garbage can, I will do 4 garbage cans on the outside of the garden, giving me a whole row and extra space in the garden to grow other things. And we got a plan for stuff that we're really going to utilize. There's a lot of those flowers in there, and they're just kind of taking over. So next year, Sam wants to grow them in a different spot. I think she said grow them down, like in baskets.
Yeah, she put them in a basket. I planted my nasturtiums it's the first time I grew them as well, and I got nothing.
Really?
They came about this high and then
they're
died.
All over in our garden.
Know,
our garden is the most. It looks super beautiful. Nice because there's tons of flowers and green, and then that sunflower that's self-seeded. We took one of the stalks and we've got it in the window inside drying out. We're hopefully going to keep the seeds, and we're going to try and plant a bunch of sunflowers. And then it grew another head, and then we got the little sunflower. So we've got another head. We're going to try and replant those. That's self-seeded. We don't know where that sunflower came from, and hopefully we get years worth of sunflowers. We'll start putting them around the property and having sunflowers all over. It would be pretty sweet. Seems like there's always a project to do. So, but there's a real benefit, even emotionally. Like Sam has told me how much she loves making the jam and doing the relish. She loves it. And she opens up the cupboard and sees all these jars all the way back, all labeled of the jams and the dehydrated bananas and the pickles that we just did, and soon we're gonna have pickled eggs. She looks at this all and like it warms her heart to see it, right? Like
it does.
Fruits of your labor, and really not that hard. I mean, the hardest thing is finding the sugar. Like if something happened. Like we started buying our sugar in bulk because when we can start going through sugar pretty quick. So we buy the 10-pound bags and we might do flour or whatever to just preserve it, because we ended up having some worms in our flour. We kept them in some Tupperware and some worms got into it.
Well,
I don't know how that happens.
You don't have a freezer, a big freezer. Flour is harvested. There's weevils in your flour, and there's larvae. You don't see them until they hatch. What you should do is, if you had a freezer, put your flour in the freezer for 3 days, and that'll kill anything in there.
Okay.
That's when you do it in the jars and you put it in the oven, and you dry can it. It heats it up, and that kills any of the larva or anything. Weevils, larva, anything
whatever
like that.
Sort of bug or whatever can just hatch in there.
Well, and they do.
I need to get a freezer to utilize. It's
hard to do.
Yeah, I don't know. We just haven't done it. It's hard to balance versus like what we put into our little freezer versus how much stuff would we put in a big freezer that we never use. But if we're gonna do like bulk free-range chickens here, then I need to have space to put. Sam said that she would like to get 1 chicken a month or 2. So 2 is 24 chickens just for me, and then I would need at least 12 if I want to do 1 a month. We could do 2 a month or even more when the kids get older. So next year I'm going to try my hands at some meat birds and canning that and freezing. I'm going to try and do both. We want to get a vacuum sealer and vacuum seal things. My buddy, he used Ziploc bags, and he said his wife boiled them and it vacuum seals them. Have you ever heard of this?
No.
Yeah. He said he did that for his deer. He harvested a deer this year with a bow, and what he did is he said, hold on, I got a cough. What he did is that he took large Ziploc, like the heavy duty ones. I think he said it was Ziploc, and he put them in there, and you push it tight and you roll the air out of it, and then you boil it with the top hanging out of the water, and it pushes the rest of the air and vacuum seals it, and then you can fold it and clamp it. I thought about giving it a try. So, but we do want to get a vacuum sealer, and then I can vacuum seal some birds. And now, if I'm going to do birds myself, buddy down the road who did meat birds says, I can do birds for myself, but I can't sell them if I'm going to butcher them. So if I butcher them here on the property, I cannot sell them.
No.
I can give them away, though, to you or whatever. But you can't sell them, and you can't sell game meat. So if you're hunting, you can't sell that. This stuff's all for you. But you should want to just... I think people need to be worried about taking care of themselves more when it comes to food after COVID and stores not getting things, and how reliant we are on different countries to get food to us here. It was a little bit like, no, I wasn't nervous, but I was like more frustrated. Like, it made me realize how dependent we are on having things shipped here from the States. And I'm like, why are we not just doing this for ourselves? Or even stuff from Ontario, not being able to get it from here to Vancouver Island, right out east, and even the Okanagan. Like, I'm like, if things can't get to us here and we're reliant on it, then there's a problem. We're in a situation where we can't get what we need. I don't want to have that as a problem. No. I want to be able to have a storage. If things aren't coming to me, I want to be like, oh man, this is happening. I'm not getting stuff in the stores. Things are getting locked down. I've got my food storage. I know that I've got a year's supply. Hopefully things clean up after a year. That's the goal. A year's supply of food and water. Now, you said you can can seal water, but I mean, water's cheap enough to buy in bottles of water and stock up. Then you start looking at, where do you put all this stuff? I don't really have a pantry area. I thought of many things, but I'll have to figure out. A year's worth of canned goods is quite a bit. It's a lot of stuff. So, and then you end up rotating. So, this is this month's worth of stuff. You bring it into the house, and then after 6 months in, you're halfway through your stock. Then you got to restock up, right, and rotate.
Yeah. But what we did in Yak was you go from season to season, like potato season to the next potato season. You need enough potatoes. You figure out for your family how many pounds of potatoes you would go through
to get to the next
harvest,
harvest. Yes, that's the right way to look at it, from harvest to harvest. So and then you rotate foods too. Like, okay, you've gotten potatoes, you calculated, but you've used them all. Now you got to take whatever's in harvest at that time and utilize it. So maybe your food changes. You don't eat potatoes anymore. No. You eat more tomatoes.
You eat tomatoes. Or if you're going to do a long-term food storage, you'll have things that, like rice and pasta. So you don't eat potatoes every day. So you'll eat, like I said, pasta, rice, yams. You can use,
switch it up. You switch it up with things that you can dry storage.
Yeah.
What was it? I would love to see a little local programmer try and communicate with maybe Dustin and Crystal, and my buddy Kurt is getting into this sort of stuff. Like, if we each had a garden and we each had a thing flourish, like we all have zucchinis, so we all are covered, right? But like, say you didn't get great potatoes, but I got great potatoes, but I didn't get good tomatoes, but you got great tomatoes. Then there's an exchange there. Well, here's 25 pounds of potatoes for 25 pounds of tomatoes, right? Like, I would love to see that sort of thing happening, where I grow, you grow, whatever, and we can pick a thing to harvest and try and do an exchange, so that there's no exchange of money, just the labor to grow the thing. And then we have it rotates, because, my yard has different lighting and location and temperatures than your place. So different things are going to thrive here from your place. Yeah. You're going to have different sun and shade depending on where your yard is. And same with Dustin and Crystal and anybody else who's involved. Where you're located will depend on how much sun, light, shade, temperature in the morning and evening. Is all going to be play a factor into what you can grow, and it's going to be different for each people. And if we all have our are better harvests that we can exchange with, and I would love to see an exchange of that sort of stuff going on. Maybe not. We could do some of that next year if we plan things right. Like, I really am into potatoes, and Sam's really into squashes and stuff like that. But I think we're gonna get a good amount of potatoes, and then I'm gonna try and exchange. And like our apples that we made applesauce, my buddy Kurt's came from his grandma's tree. She just dropped them off for us. So we've got tons of apples just coming from that. He made all our applesauce, and I have some extra that out in a box I've just been feeding to the goats. These pickles that we got, these were overstock from a farmer in town. He left them on his farm stand for free.
Oh, wow.
So we just picked them up. They were in a bag. We picked up a few, and enough to make 9 jars worth, right? So everyone's got a overstock. We didn't get that many cucumbers, so that made up for it.
Yeah.
So just before I go here, I got Sam to write a list of everything that we've canned this year. So we got, what's this say? Strawberry jam. We got 12 500 milliliters. Which one of these is the 500? Pint.
Yep.
So 500 milliliters, 1 pint, smaller jar. We got 12 of those this year. Blueberry jams, we got 14 500 milliliters. Blackberry jam, we got 500 milliliters, and we picked those by hand. We got blackberry vanilla jam, so it's 9 jars of that, of 250 milliliters. So they're the small ones. Yeah, like we got these herbs. Yeah. These herbs, and these herbs you can replace for like peppers and stuff in salad. Like I throw it in salads. That's awesome. So
high in vitamin C.
And vitamin C?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, perfect. Blackberry jam. 500 milliliters. Did we already do blackberry?
Yep.
Yeah, so she wrote that one down twice. Okay, blackberry jam, 6 250 milliliters. So 500 milliliters and 6 250 milliliters. Peaches, we got 1,000 milliliters. That's
a quart.
For a quart, which is the large jars.
How many did you get?
She said 20.
Okay.
And that was, how many boxes? We got 2. We got 10. 20, 30, 40 pounds.
40 pounds.
So you've got about 100 pounds of peaches to do. So you're going to get about, so 40. We got 20. So 2.
I'm
40.
thinking we're going to get, I've got 50 jars set aside for them.
Yeah, you probably get, 50 to 60. If it goes off this, you'll get 60, I believe. So.
Okay.
And then we got peaches, 6 500 milliliters. So we got 6 of these on top of the 20 of these, 20 of the large ones. And then we got relish. We got 25 500 milliliters. We grew those zucchinis ourselves. Asparagus. We bought asparagus when it dropped on in price this summer, and we pickled it. We got 4 1,000 milliliter jars. It was really good. I think that's it. And then we got, did I say the pickles that we got? Oh, I don't think she wrote it on here. But no, she didn't. But we got 9 1,000 milliliters of pickles that all we bought were the spices and stuff inside. Next year, I'm hoping, we bought this garlic that's in it, but I also have garlic planted out there that a coworker gave me.
Garlic looks great.
Yeah, I think
my garlic did nothing.
September we're supposed to harvest it. So we'll have to harvest it though and divide it so that I can take the garlic that's there and grow it again next year. I'm not sure how to do that, but I'll figure it out. Yep. But I don't want to have to buy any garlic to plant. I want to use the garlic I've grown out there for my year and planting for next year. So you divide it or clove it. Yeah. I'm not exactly sure.
My garlic crop was decimated by the neighbor's cat. But Aunt Lori said to just leave it and it'll come back in the spring. So I'm just going to leave it and see what happens. Because I don't know how many times I replanted what she dug up. And
time to get an airsoft gun and just
Well, Uncle Doug said to put the prickles from the branches from the blackberry bushes. So I did
smart.
that. I just put it down like a grid and stuff, and she stopped coming around. But the damage has already been done.
Yeah,
right?
it's a little too late.
Yeah.
Okay, well, we're going to wrap that up. That's our little insight of what we've been canning this year. And, I will probably do a follow-up next year or spring. Well, when it comes time to redo the garden, I will probably do an episode talking about just how we're planting things and why. Probably with Sam, we'll sit down and we'll get to draw it out and write down where and why and calculate. We're gonna be a little bit of nerds and calculate sun and shade and where the shadows hit from the trees, because we've got trees on the side of the property because it's gonna determine where we put stuff like tomatoes and we got to build some stuff to, like, tomatoes don't like rain. So we got to do little things that we didn't do this year to spice up the garden. So we'll do another episode on that, a little harvesting episode. But other than that, thanks for checking in. Thanks for coming in and talking can. Yeah, I love it. Okay. Bye-bye.